This film is titled Stripping and Finishing Floors. This is a film produced to help you understand the theory and practice of taking off the old finish and refinishing the resilient tile floor with fresh coats of new finish.
To help you understand the important points of this program, questions will be asked during the video. After a question is asked, there will be a 5-second pause. We will then reveal the correct answer. Make a game of it to see how many of these questions you can get right. Pay attention to the subject matter from here on, since you never know when a question may be asked.
Ah, the lowly floor, mistreated, walked on. But floors never rate low on our list of professional maintenance priorities. As a matter of fact, 40% of the maintenance budget is devoted to floor care. That's why it's of the highest importance that you follow the professional procedures set forth in this program. There are 10 steps that you must follow for stripping and finishing floors, which are 1. Getting ready to refinish floors. 2. Clearing the area of furnishings. 3. Posting caution signs. 4. Stripping the floor. 5. Rinsing the floor. 6. Checking for dryness. 7. Apply new finish to floor. 8. Return furnishings. 9. Inspecting your work. And 10. Returning equipment and supplies. We'll now discuss the first step, getting ready to refinish floors. New mop heads can cause you problems. Always soak new mop heads in water before using them. New mops contain fabric sizing, which can cause floor finishing products to discolor, powder, and lose their shine. What's more, their stiffness can cause streaking. Always set aside one mop for each task by writing stripping, rinsing, or finishing on the mop handles. This is to identify each mop's sole purpose. That way you won't use a stripping mop to apply finish. Getting ready means to take all the equipment and supplies you'll need to complete the entire stripping and finishing job. Essential tools include 2 buckets on casters and 2 wringers. One bucket will contain your floor stripping solution. The other bucket will contain clear hot water. Now, fill the rinse bucket 3/4 full with hot water. Prepare your stripping solution at the deep sink in your cleaning closet. There are many kinds of stripping chemicals on the market today, and this one happens to be liquid. All kinds are to be added in measured quantities to the hot water you put in your solution bucket. You must always follow chemical instructions diligently. Use a measuring cup to get your stripping recipe right. If you have any doubts, check with your supervisor. Some products that are on the market are already pre-measured to ensure a proper mixture of stripping solution. One packet usually makes 2 gallons of floor stripping solution. Agitate and thoroughly mix the stripping solution using your mop head. Don't use this mop for anything else but stripping. The mop handle should be labeled with the word stripping. Question 1. Which step is the 4th step in stripping and finishing floors? A. Stripping the floor. B. Getting ready to refinish floors. Or C. Posting caution signs. If you answered A, stripping the floor, you were correct. You'll also need a floor machine. It's very important to match the right size floor machine to the area you'll be stripping and finishing. Until you become a seasoned pro, let your supervisor help you make this important choice. The same goes for floor machine pads and brushes. There are many to choose from, but don't choose one at random. Generally, a brown or black pad can be used for stripping. Also, bring along some small hand pads and the right kind of floor stripping solution. Step 2 calls for clearing the area of furnishings. Use a dolly on heavy pieces. Never try to push heavy pieces. You might gouge the floor. Better still, use a dolly and an assistant. Make mental notes about where everything goes. The tenants may not appreciate your reorganizing their office furniture. There are some things that cannot be moved, and these include pop machines, refrigerators, large office equipment, computers or computer mainframes, and other heavy items. If you're not sure about what to move, check with your supervisor. Question 2. Which is the 6th step for stripping and finishing floors? A. Apply new finish to floor. B. Rinsing the floor. Or C. Checking for dryness. If you answered B, rinsing the floor, you were correct. Be careful what you unplug. Removing electrical plugs from outlets can be dangerous. Many companies have computers that run 24 hours a day. These are not to be disconnected from electrical outlets. It could be a costly mistake to disrupt a computer that's receiving or sending information, so watch what you're doing around these sensitive pieces of office equipment. On items that have to remain in the room that you're designated to refinish, you will merely work around these items. Even the strongest stripping solution, however, won't pick up floor mats. That means you have to. This is another of your responsibilities. Use a push broom to clear the floor of any litter that you can't pick up with a dust mop. Also, be sure to use a dust pan with either a radiator brush or a toy broom to pick up what you've swept. Now, spot check for gum or other sticky substances. Use a narrow blade scraper, being careful not to scratch or mar the floor. You can also use Freon to freeze the gum to make it easier to remove. Finally, go over the entire surface with your dust mop. Work in a prescribed right to left, left to right pattern. Be sure to edge in along baseboards. Remember to dam up under all doors to the room you are servicing to prevent leakage of stripping solution onto adjacent floors. Use cotton cloths for this purpose. With your floor prep work complete, place wet floor caution signs. In larger areas, you may have to place 2 or 3 signs to adequately warn others about the wet floor. In large hallways and lobbies, only work on half the floor area at a time. This will allow others to move about the building you're servicing. Step 4 calls for stripping the floor. We'll now discuss the application of stripper to the floor. Question 3. Why should you mark mop handles for stripping, rinsing, and finishing? A. Identify your department. B. Identify mop's purpose. Or C. None of these. If you answered B, identify the mop's purpose, you're right. This will prevent a stripping mop from being used later as a finishing mop. As you know, there's a precise procedure for using this damp mop. There's a right way and a left way. Always grasp the mop just below waist level with your stronger hand. Here's a right-handed person. The right hand is just below waist level where it does the pushing and pulling. His other hand simply steadies the mop. Always mop by walking backwards. Place your mop head into the bucket and agitate it in the stripping solution. Lift the mop head out of the bucket and wring the mop head only slightly. The mop head should be heavy with stripping solution. Our custodian now lifts the mop head out of the wringer. Notice that the mop handle is parallel to the floor and not up and down. Lifting the mop straight up and down out of the bucket can cause it to hit the ceiling, something your supervisor will also do the following morning when he sees the hole you put there. Question 4. Always grasp the mop just below waist level with your stronger hand. True or false? The answer is true. You do this because your stronger arm is used to swing the mop while the weaker hand guides the mop. Apply stripper in 20 by 30 foot sections in unobstructed areas. And avoid slopping baseboards by making your first wet stroke parallel to, but about a foot away from, the baseboard. Your next stroke should be next to the baseboard itself. The floor machine is the next tool you'll need. With the machine resting on its handle, apply the drive block into the chuck of the drive shaft using a counterclockwise motion. It will click into place. Never stand the machine up and turn on the power to try and lock the drive block into place. This will break the drive block. Make sure the stripping pad is centered on the drive block. Now, stand the machine up and move it into the area where the first stripper was applied. Adjust the handle so it can be held comfortably just below the waist. With arms extended parallel to the machine's handles, work backward to the dry areas. Question 5. What should you do to prevent stripping solution from running under doors? A. Use as little water as possible. B. Open the door. Or C. Dam under the door with rags. If you answered C, dam under the door with rags, you were correct. This prevents the stripper and finish from ruining the floors in other rooms. Incidentally, make sure the plug is not cracked or the cord frayed before plugging in. Report damaged cord or plug to the supervisor. All floor machines have handle grip controls which drive the stripping pad in a circular motion. By pulling upward on the handle, you cause the machine to move to the right. By pushing down, you cause the machine to move left. The beginning stroke should be started with the machine directly in front of you. A 6-foot stroke is the easiest on the operator. Move the machine slowly from side to side without digging the pad into the floor. Carry a small section of stripping pad for those hard-to-remove scuff marks. Use the pad under your foot and rub the mark away. You can also do this with your hand. To get the floor completely clean, you must not miss any areas. To assure this, line up the machine with a row of tile. Use a pattern so as not to miss any area of the floor. Don't hurry. Give the machine plenty of time to work. On difficult floors, it may be necessary to go in the opposite direction too. Make sure the stripper on the floor has not dried out before using the machine. If the stripper seems to be drying, apply more solution. If it's not kept wet until picked up, you'll have to re-scrub the floor. Having completed the machine scrubbing operation, move the unit off the floor. The dirty stripping solution must now be removed from the floor. Using a wet mop and wringer bucket, move the dry mop head across the floor solution. When the mop head has soaked up enough soil solution, wring it out in the wringer. Repeat the operation until all the solution's been picked up. Using a wet vacuum pickup, obviously, is faster. Start picking up soil by moving forward into the area. Operate the pickup tool or squeegee in 3 to 4 foot strokes. Lower the handle to go forward, raise the handle slightly to go back. Pick up all water in this manner. You're now ready for rinsing, step 5 of the 10 basic steps for stripping and refinishing floors. Start by applying a liberal amount of hot water with your rinse mop. Work in a crisscross motion. Don't forget baseboards and bottoms of the equipment. Now go back and damp mop the floor. Question 6. By pulling upward on the handle, you cause the machine to move to the left. True or false? If you answered false, you're right. When you pull up, the floor machine will move to the right. Remember to rinse the mop frequently in clear water. Agitate the mop in the rinse bucket. Wring dry and wipe over the floor once more. Be sure to wipe off all baseboards with a dry cloth. Check for streaks after you've rinsed the floor. Check to see that all of the old finish has been removed from the floor. A properly stripped floor will have a flat, non-glossy appearance uniformly. Be sure to correct any problems you may find. Also, make sure the floor is absolutely dry before attempting to refinish it. Our 7th step is to apply new finish to the floor. Remember to use the mop marked for this operation. The greatest value of refinishing is building resistance to soil and easier maintenance. It saves floor wear too. To start, the finish bucket and wringer must be cleaned before refinishing begins. For your information, 1 gallon of finish will cover about 1,500 square feet. We want you to learn how to estimate the volumes of finish you'll need. Your supervisor can help at first. Never use more than 2 or 3 gallons of finish in your pail at one time. First, you must saturate the mop in the fresh finish and wring the lower half dry before beginning the stroke. The mop head should not be dripping when you begin the stroke. Start at corners parallel to but slightly away from the baseboards. Now, come back on the downstroke, passing over half of the previous stroke. Make a turn at the baseboard and move out along the other wall. Any bubbles or drips should be mopped away. Try to avoid splashing finish onto the baseboards. Remember to swing the mop in 6-foot side-to-side strokes. Of course, you'll want to mop in the classic figure-8 pattern. Apply the finish by keeping the moist mop head flat on the floor and letting the drier strands fan out. Spread the finish thin. Milky-looking areas mean you've flowed on too much finish. You can also use a lamb's wool applicator to apply your floor finish. This rig comes with its own supply tank and provides a fast way to lay finish. It gives an even coat of finish to the floor you're servicing. After the first coat is dry, it usually takes 20 minutes or more, apply a second coat. During this application, stay at least 8 inches from all baseboards, equipment, and door jambs. Apply a thin finish. Question 7. A properly stripped floor will have a glossy appearance uniformly. True or false? If you answered false, you are correct. A properly stripped floor will have a flat, non-glossy appearance uniformly. Keep in mind that very porous floors will require 2 coats or more coats to become sealed. Drying time is essentially 20 minutes, but varies with ventilation, temperature, and humidity. Always check with your supervisor to confirm that a second or even third application is necessary. You can't apply a second coat before the first coat is absolutely dry. Now comes an important step. Move the furniture and equipment back onto the refinished floor. Make sure that the floor is thoroughly dry before you do this. If you mark the floor in the execution of this step, then go back and refinish the mark with a hand pad and finish. Also, the furnishings must be moved back to the same places you found them. Don't reorganize the room furniture. The tenants won't like it. Put the furniture back in the start positions only. When you move furniture, you'll have to deal with items left on desks and files, although we try to persuade the client to put things away before we get there. Treat things as if they were your own. You must try not to break anything, but if you do, then report the damage to your supervisor. When you have finished the job, take a minute and inspect your work. It's better for you to find an exception than it would be if your supervisor found it. Worse yet, we don't want the client to find the error. It's our job to perform a professional service. Step 10 is a step we hope you never miss. That is, return all equipment and supplies to the cleaning closet. Dump all remaining floor finish into the deep sink. Don't pour unused finish back into the original containers, as it will cause the entire container to sour and become worthless. Question 8. When applying finish, milky-looking areas mean you flowed on too much finish. True or false? If you answered true, you were correct. Spotless, well-functioning cleaning equipment is the hallmark of a pro. Besides adding useful life to the equipment, proper care also leaves a highly favorable impression. Good maintenance habits can mean less work for you in the long run. For example, if the stripper on this cord were not wiped off, it could become activated again when coming in contact with water and could mar or damage an otherwise finished floor. So, wipe all surfaces of the floor machine dry and buff it to a high clean polish. Also, be sure to wash all mops thoroughly in the deep sink. If you want the mop to last long as well, you should hang all your mops head down to air dry. This gets them ready for the next night's operations. Buckets should be thoroughly cleaned by scrubbing the insides, wiping the outsides, including the casters. It's also a good idea to add a touch of oil to each caster to keep them rolling freely instead of dragging and marring the floor. Question 9. Drying time of finish depends on which of these factors? A. Temperature, B. Humidity, C. Ventilation, or D. All of these. That's right. D. All of these is correct. Under favorable conditions, drying time for floor finish is about 20 minutes. We will now review the steps we've just covered. 1. Getting ready to refinish floors. 2. Clearing the area of furnishings. 3. Posting caution signs. 4. Stripping the floor. 5. Rinsing the floor. 6. Checking for dryness. 7. Apply new finish to floor. 8. Return furnishings. 9. Inspect your work. And 10. Return equipment and supplies. Follow these steps each time you perform floor refinishing tasks, and you'll be a true professional. Think about it. Where would the rest of the world be without us? Certainly not poised on aesthetically pleasing, well-maintained floors, and that's a good reflection on you and our company. You have now completed this program on stripping and finishing floors. Please contact your training instructor or supervisor. Thank you.